Good day, everyone. I'm Sir Renan, your oral communication in context teacher. In our previous discussion, we talked about the 5 basic functions of communication, which are regulation or control, social interaction, emotional expression, motivation, and information dissemination. For this video, we will learn more about the nature of communication. According to an existential psychologist, Rollo May, communication leads to community, that is, to understanding, to intimacy, and to mutual valuing. Communication, then, is more than just the process of saying something to somebody else. Rather, it is a way by which we could make ourselves heard and understood, as well as a way for us to know more about and understand others. The term communication comes from the Latin word communicare, which means to share, impart, participate, exchange, transmit, or to make common. To be common means to come together or to share something in common together. Communication helps people to adapt to or survive in the place they live in. That's why we have been exposed to the various functions of communication. To be common means to disseminate information, to express your emotions, to motivate, to socially interact, and to control or regulate the human actions or human behavior. That's how communication works, because communication leads to community. Because we understand each other, we develop intimacy, and we value each other. Communication is the process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channels. It may either be face-to-face or virtual, within and across contexts, within and across media. Communication may be done through the use of the radio or television or other forms of media, and within and across cultures. One essential idea of communication is that communication is a process. Communication is a process in which a source or speaker sends and encodes a message through a channel. When the speaker encodes the message, that means he puts them into words through a different channel or different channels, like it may be face-to-face or through a phone call or through any other forms of media, going to its destination or the receiver. The receiver decodes the message. When the receiver decodes, that means he interprets or he gives his own understanding of the message coming from the speaker in order for him to give an appropriate feedback so that he would be able to give an answer. The receiver of the message may or may not give a feedback. So, pwede niyang sagutin ang mensahe o hindi. The feedback may either be in a form of verbal or non-verbal. It may be in words or just actions or bodily gestures. But when providing a feedback, in case that the receiver gives a feedback, the receiver then becomes the sender, and the first sender then becomes the receiver of the message. And it goes on and on. That's why communication is a process. It could be a never-ending process. This process is dynamic or always changing, as it occurs within a context which constantly varies depending on so many factors like the people involved, the place, the channels used, and the situation. So depending on the factors like people, place, channels, and situation, the communication process will always be changing. So our way of communicating with people of different groups will vary. Iba-iba yan. Iba yung pakikitungo, iba yung pakikipag-usap natin, di ba, sa kaedad natin versus doon sa mas nakakatanda sa atin. Also the place, it's different. The way you communicate with other people when you are in public will also be different when you are at home or in a private place. It's also with the channel. Iba yung pag face-to-face, iba din naman yung through phone call or any other platforms. And the situation. Depende sa sitwasyon kung ano ang pakiramdam ng mga nag-uusap ng sender and receiver. It will also change the way of communicating, or the process will also change. Communication also occurs always with noise, which affects the entire process in one way or another. There may, however, be a breakdown in the communication process. With the presence of noise, pwede magkaroon ng breakdown in the communication process. This breakdown in the process may happen because of noise, which is any barrier or hindrance that obstructs the understanding of the message. Imagine someone who is making noise tapos nag-uusap kayo ng seryoso. Just like what usually happens in the classroom when the teacher discusses tapos maingay yung mga classmates mo and you would like to listen to the discussion, di ba distracted ka? And this process is further discussed in our next video. And another essential thing about communication is that communication occurs between two or more people, which are the speaker and the receiver. So in order for communication to occur, dapat may speaker, dapat may receiver. Even if you're just talking to yourself, you become the speaker at the same time the receiver. Or even if you are just watching news, the news anchors become the speaker and you as the audience is the receiver. It is a two-way, meaning that there is a source of the message and a destination. Right now in this video lesson, I am the source, Serenan, and you are the destination, my learners. So under this essential idea about communication, this can be a form or in a form of a face-to-face instruction, a phone conversation, a group discussion, or even a letter correspondence. One more thing about communication is that it can be expressed through written or spoken words, or what is so-called verbal, or actions, the non-verbal, or both spoken words and non-verbal actions at the same time. Communication has two kinds, the verbal and non-verbal. Let's have first the verbal communication. Verbal communication refers to the use of symbols like the words or speech in sending messages and in transmitting ideas or feelings. These are both used in spoken and in written communication. The communicators make use of a language, just like right now. I'm using this verbal communication in order for me to convey what I would like you, my students, to know about this particular subject or topic. The words I speak and the words that you read and hear are considered verbal communication or the verbal cues. Nonverbal communication, on the other hand, refers to the act of expressing ideas in ways that do not involve or go beyond using words. This will no longer be using words. Instead, body language or gestures, facial expressions or appearance, voice, and environment are some of the nonverbal cues that greatly affect the meaning of one's message. The simple way of nodding or pagtango, the way you look at other people, tapping them or hitting them are means of communicating with them non-verbally. Non-verbal communication is very common among infants, yung mga babies, di pa sila nakakapagsalita. So, when they cry, that is their way of communicating that something is wrong with them. Maybe gutom or papalitan yung diaper or nakagat or may masakit. Or like when you don't want to speak and you would still want to express your anger, you frown, sisimangot, nakasimangot ang mukha, hindi ma-drawing, then that is also your way of communicating non-verbally. Others would actually know that you are angry. Others would actually know that you are upset. Generally, communication takes place with the combination of verbal and non-verbal elements, as one kind complements the other. Okay, let me share with you the types of non-verbal communication. First is the proxemics. Proxemics refers to the space or distance between the sender and the receiver. So we can actually communicate non-verbally with the use of distance. Like yung tinatawag na intimate distance. Pag intimate distance, yung distance mo from each other should be less than 6 inches to 18 inches. Yan yung distance na pwedeng magawa yung pag-embrace, touching, whispering, ganon. Another distance is the personal distance. Yung space nyo from each other would have been 1.5 to 4 feet. That is very fitting for interacting with good friends or family, mga close friends mo na. One more is the social distance. That's 4 to 12 feet, which is for interacting with acquaintances, mga kakilala mo lang. Just like right now, time of pandemic, may tinatawag tayong social distancing, at least 1 meter or more. Another kind of distance is the public distance, and that measures 12 to 25 feet or more, which is used for public speaking. Malayo na, di ba? A public speaker is away from the audience or from the listeners. For example, nasa stage ka at audience mo naman nasa baba ng stage or away from you. Yun yung distance, 12 to 25 feet. So example, standing very close or sitting very close to someone you really love. What particular kind of distance is that? Is it intimate, personal, social distance, or public distance? It's intimate. So it is quite natural to be in or maintain intimate distance when you are with your best friend or someone you are very close to or whom you really love. Sana all. Another type of nonverbal communication is the kinesics or kinesics. This refers to the use of body language in communication. So what's dominant here is the body language, the bodily gestures. This includes the gestures, your eye contact, or even your facial expressions. Example, yung pag-lean forward. When you lean forward because you would like to listen to someone, the action of leaning forward while listening to someone may be interpreted as openness or interest in the other person's message. Or even yung pagkindat, which is very common among the group of students. Kumindat lang, alam nilang ibig sabihin. Or whenever one of the members in the group smiles, may binubuo silang mga istorya na or kwento na dyan sa isip nila. So those are simple means of using gestures or bodily gestures in order for them to non-verbally communicate. Another type of nonverbal communication is the chronemics. This refers to the role of time in the communication process. How can time be used for communicating non-verbally? Since various cultures may have different perceptions of time when it comes to punctuality or in interactions, chronemics may greatly affect communication. Example, when you arrive early to a job interview, ang aga-aga mo, your job interview will be at 8 a.m., 6:30 or 7, nandun ka na. That means arriving early to a job interview may be interpreted as a sign that one is eager or very much willing to work in the company and that he or she respects the interviewer's time. Doon pala ipapakita mo na, yung pagpunta mo doon na napakaaga, pagpapakita yun na you are very interested to get the job or to be part of that particular company. One more type is the paralanguage. This refers to the tone, speed, and volume of the speaker's voice. Sighs and gasps are also considered as paralanguage. Imagine your teacher, during the discussion, your teacher heard you yawning. Naghagab ka. That is an indication you are communicating non-verbally, and that indicates that you are not interested to the discussion. Or maybe, gusto mo na matapos ang discussion. Huwag ganun. Low volume ang pinag-uusapan dun ha, not the words that are coming out of the speaker's mouth, yung volume. Kaya considered siya na non-verbal communication. Another type of non-verbal communication is haptics. Haptics refers to the use of touch to convey meaning in a conversation. This is often dependent on culture, iba-ibang kultura, lalo na sa way of touching. In some countries, friendly touching is encouraged, but in others, it is considered an invasion of one's personal space, or it is considered to be rude. Or just like during the time that I was handling my junior high school, dun sa literature ng Thailand, ang kultura nila, bawal hawakan sa ulo ang bata. Just like dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, pag hinawakan mo yung ulo ng bata, press mo ng ganyan, that is to indicate na that person is so dear to you. Pero sa kanila, pinagbabawal yan. I mean, di naman pinagbabawal, but that's considered rude. One example of haptics is when you tightly hug someone. Kasi, di ba, when an exchange of tight hugs between individuals or between two people, that conveys that they have a very close relationship with each other. And that act of hugging is also a way to comfort someone or to let that person know that he or she or that you are loved or you are being appreciated. And those are the different types of nonverbal communication. And to wrap up our discussion, let's not forget that communication is a process that takes place between two or more people, which may either be in written, spoken, or other forms apart from the use of language. Thank you so much for listening. And this is once again your oral com teacher, Sir Renan. Goodbye.